I just went live. It might take a minute for YouTube to push on through. But tom. Okay, wonderful. Well, get off my phone and I will call you when it's time for you to push on in. All right, bye. Let me share everything out here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Dash YouTube Studio. Hello everyone, I see you guys in the chat. Good evening. I am just sharing everything out here. You guys know how live goes. Just give me 1 second and I will be amongst thee. Matter of fact, while I'm doing this, y'all need to be doing the same thing. Share the stream out to your freaking social medias, okay? We're going to have a great conversation tonight with one of my good friends who is super dope. And we're going to get into some metaphysical conversation tonight and a little bit of pop culture as well, okay? So I want you guys to share the stream out. I see you guys flooding in. Hello, everyone. I'm just sharing everything out to Patreon members, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Getting everything in water. What about the motherfucking water? Hey, everybody. Every time I'm looking at my viewfinder, like on my laptop, my whatchamacallit looks like it's lagging. But on my phone, it looks perfectly situated. Let me see here. Let me go to my live stream on my phone and see what it's giving. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Crank up the volume, baby, please. I don't want to miss anything. Okay, can you guys hear me? People are saying that they have volume issues. Hey, Miss Old School. Hello, Mod. Miss Old School 32. Are you staying corona free? Okay, are you keeping the panties and the bras nice and Lysol and Febreze? Okay, because this is hyper hygienic season. Corona got us all making sure that our drawers are bleached white. Okay, you guys can hear me? Wonderful. Okay, just keep telling me if you guys can hear me. Hello, Anthony. What's going on? I'm just sharing everything out, you guys. Just give me 1 second, because I don't feel like y'all talking mess about the way the live look and all that. So let me make sure everything is looking good before we get started this evening. Hope you guys are corona free. Hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Hope you guys are. I ain't even do the title for this video. Look at me, my Jesus. This is not. Oh man. Astrology talk with Rashad. Birth charts. What are the stars telling us? Okay. All right. Let me make sure everything looks straight. Do I look delayed in the chat? Like, am I in slow motion, or do I look like I'm flowing? All right. Hey, nutritionist. Hey, boo. What's going on? Everybody quarantined like a mother lover. The new HC. What's going on? Heathen Central. Baby, we got some updates, don't we? I'm gonna have to come through to the people with the updates on Miss McCray, honey. Yes. Okay, I look straight. All right. Let me put this link up in my Patreon. You guys will need to sign up to the Patreon. I have a treat for you guys who are not in the, well, who will be in the Patreon. For my Patreon members, we're going to be doing some free birth charts for anybody who's interested in getting their natal chart / birth chart done. We're going to tell you why that is significant, okay? And why it's okay. That link totally did not work. Disregard changes. Disregard. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. Okay, some people saying it's slow motion, but it looks fine to me. Live right now on YouTube Orations. Live right now on YouTube. Boom cat. Boom 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 cat. Boom cat. Boom boom cat. Okay, can somebody do me a favor? Can somebody post the link to this live right now? Somebody, just one of y'all, post the link to this live right now in my chat. Hey, Captivating Christian, what's going on, bro? Hey, the Diva. Hey, Miss V. Hi, Divine Lee. How are you? I just need anybody to just post the link. Anybody. Just post the link to this stream in the chat, because I'm going to copy and paste it somewhere else, because I can't do it from what I'm doing. Hey, Phyllis, what's going on? How's everyone? I'm glad to see you all on this Saturday. Okay, and nobody still has... Okay, thank you, Mod. My handy dandy mods can always count on you guys. Okay, let me post this in the Patreon and we can get started. We can get started. Patreon. Free charts, free charts, free charts, free charts, free charts, free charts. Free birth charts. Let me know tonight. Below. That's it. Okay, Patreon taken care of. I want you guys to share the stream out. You guys had more than enough during time, okay? To share the stream out. Let me pull this up. Okay, so I have a special guest for you guys tonight. I'm really excited. One of my really good friends is here to talk all things heavenly and divine and astrological. Okay, I thought this would make a great conversation because good morning, Isla. Hello, everyone. Tiana, what's going on, everyone? I already done been here long enough, so I'm just gonna get straight into the show. I'll talk to you guys in between, okay? I thought this would be a great show considering what's all going on in the world, considering that we're reevaluating the scriptures in terms of trying to figure out where we are in history and what the hell we can expect next, because there's a lot going on, okay? And one of those areas of life that have always been informed about the times, about the future, about what's to come, has always been prophecy. One of the outlets for prophecy has always been the stars. Man has always looked to the cosmology of the universe to not only determine human behavior, but to also get an insight and to get somewhat of a view of what to expect within human behavior in society. And there's been a lot of historical events that have been centered around predictions that astrology have been able to make. I don't know if you guys also know this, but even when it comes to our stock market, even when it comes to really wealthy people, what they don't let you guys know is that a lot of these wealthy people have personal psychics on staff, personal palm readers. They also have personal astrologers. This is why a lot of these wealthy people are able to stay wealthy. They're able to know when to invest, when to not invest, when to close shop, when to open shop. You guys are thinking that these things just work mechanically and just have to do with intellect and understanding business. No, a lot of these people yield to mystical and spiritual systems in order to maintain business, to maintain marriage. People even revolve when to get pregnant around astrological positioning. Okay, so we're going to dig into some of that. Okay, Phyllis says, oh my God, I saw that in a vision. What did you see, boo? In a vision? Wow, I never knew that. Yes, you're going to know a lot more by the time this conversation is over with. Okay, so before I bring my guest on tonight, one of my good friends, Rashad, his life has been transformed by his discovery of astrology. So we're going to get a little bit into his backstory, and then we're going to get into astrology and why it's really important, and why this stuff also fits within Christianity. I know a lot of people think that a lot of mysticism and a lot of occultism, a lot of spiritualism is anti-Christianity, but it's actually not. Matter of fact, the entire book, the entire Christian faith is the product of mysticism. It's the product of occultism. It's the product of knowledge, sacred, ancient, mystical knowledge, mystical and sacred experiences that have inspired the scriptures, that have inspired, people into massive conversions. All these things come from the unseen world, and every religion has its God-given methods, formulas in terms of how to enhance that, how to come into contact with the divine, and how to position our lives inwardly and outwardly for the experience of this cosmic universal love, the experience of this universal knowledge and wisdom. So we're going to explore consciousness a bit more too. Hey, God's plan, how are you guys doing? For my Patreon, if you have not, and mods, can you guys put my Patreon link in the stream too? Because I put it in the description box. And for you guys who are not in the Patreon, me and Rashad are going to be doing free natal charts. So for all of you guys who want a birth chart done, a birth chart is not like a horoscope, We're talking about something that's a lot more nuanced, something that's a lot more detailed and specific to your existence in this life, your purpose. All those things can be found in your natal chart, in your birth chart. So if you have access to your birth certificate and you know what time you were born, that's going to be really significant as well. If you know what time of the day you were born in, every little detail about your coming into this world, where you were born, what time of day you were born, all go into your natal chart. And if you want one, sign up to the Patreon. So I'm going to call Rashad right now. He's going to be joining us via audio, He's going to be Skyping in from the On the Run tour, Thank you, Divinely. Thank you, Miles, for posting the Patreon. You guys go and sign up. From my Patreon, you will be able to receive a free birth chart if that's something that you're interested in, So let me call the guest of tonight. Hello, everyone coming in, and once again, share this freaking stream out, And while I'm pulling up my messenger to call Rashad, I'm going to skim through this chat, Hope you guys are doing well, staying encouraged, staying informed, and not in fear. We're living through some very interesting times. I do have some coronavirus coochie virus, COVID-19 updates as well, but I'm going to bring that in another live. I'll also have some things that I want to address as it relates to YouTube, and some things going on in these streets. I also want to give a few updates about Larry's case, and I also want to kind of finish off some drama, okay, that I never really got to respond to the way that I wanted to, but now that I have the time 3 months later, oh yeah, boo-boo, it's on. So we're going to get into all that next week, okay? Probably that'll be a Monday night show. So let me pull up Messenger and get my bro on the phone so we can carry on about our business. Yes, God. Because we got business, okay? While people don't got none and just be up online, trying to make a living for themselves all night and day, girl, trying to just hog all the attention online, girl. I'll just be like, do y'all have a man? Do y'all have a job? Do y'all got family? Do y'all go outside? Do you know that the sky is still blue, boo? Do you ever just peek your head out the window, girl? Like, YouTube is really not that serious, boo. I'm gonna need some of y'all to get y'all a whole God-given, enjoyable life to commit to, because it ain't no reason for nobody to be up on the onlines all day and all night like that. It just don't make no sense. Okay. I'm telling you, the devil always working when it comes to one of these type of shows, okay? Now my Facebook don't want to pull up. She don't want to pull up, but if I was on some whole shit tonight, you know what? Facebook could be right on up, honey. Right on up. Yes, God. Hey, Mika. Hey, Mika Money. Hey, Deborah. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Okay, Facebook. Come on. Let's get it together. You know what? I probably need to delete some of these tabs with all this porno on it. That's probably what I need to do. Baby, baby, baby. I hate going live. I'm probably going to say that every time I go live, because going live is just so over the top. It's so much going on. It's so much to do. And then when I try to go audio, y'all be carrying on that y'all can't see me. Y'all want to see me. Y'all want to see me. Look, I am not y'all personal Barbie doll, okay? Sometimes I just want to be able to just utilize this and run my mouth. I don't want to have to get up here in front of all this and do all this and look like all this all the darn time when I'm communicating with y'all, okay? Because some of y'all don't even be hearing me any damn way. You be so damn fixated on what kind of hair that is. What type of jewelry that is, girl. Like, what your blood type be, nigga. Like, on everything other than what I am talking about. So let me see if I can call Rashad from here. Because I know that I'm not going to be able to. Let me see if I can call Rashad from here. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, guys, it's pulling up. We pulling it all up. Pow, period. I swear for God, I'm about to throw my whole MacBook out of the window. Out of the window. I do know that my life path number is 7. We're going to get into some life path numbers as well, okay? Because it's all type of wonders and signs that are connected, okay, to our lives, our God-given lives. It's all around us. Purpose, truth, okay? God echoing through the chambers of creation, in the chambers of our souls, about who we are, why we are, what we are to do here. The signs and the wonders are all around us. They're all around us. Okay, I'm calling Rashad now, you guys. Rashad, I see you in the chat, so just come on through, boo. Can y'all hear the telephone ringing?
Hello?
Hello, sir. Are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Okay, can you hear me loud and clear? Because I can certainly hear you loud and clear. Chat, let us know if you can hear the king loud and clear. Can you guys hear him? Rashad, state your name and your age, your type, and who you're voting for. Your name and your age, okay?
All right, because you said type, honey.
I did not.
Yeah, shit is. What's up, Conscious crew? I'm so excited to finally be, introducing myself to you guys and your platform, and I want to thank you again for letting me come on and showcase my talent. So my name is Rashad, aka King Guyton of King Guyton Astrology, and I'm 29 years old, originally from Richmond, Virginia, and yeah, we have to get into some things.
Okay, cool. Now don't talk too fast now. Okay, we need the people to be able to hear you out and everything. I'm gonna levitate this Bluetooth so you can be right up to the microphone now. Okay, so the people already know that we're here to talk about astrology. So I guess the first question I want to ask you is, what initially gave you an interest in astrology, and then what has your experience been like since, including astrology in your worldview?
Well, what initially gave me an interest in astrology was I'm the type of person, I deal with a lot of stuff by energy. And I would just meet a lot of people growing up who would always tell me stuff like, you're not necessarily a Virgo, because that's my sun sign.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Zodiac sign. My birthday's September 13th. So they would always say, you're more than just that. And, I think then they kind of planted the seed of, okay, what are they talking about? I want to explore it more. So I really left it alone at that time. I would just listen to people saying, you don't always 100% relate to your sun sign. Yeah. So fast forward years later, I met this woman who would say, oh, you're very charming. You have a nice smile. I wonder what your rising sign is. And I'm like, what's that? And she's like, your rising sign is how you present yourself to the world, how you project yourself. Now, that's a part of our personality that we can't control. That's a part of our personality that we react to external stimuli. So whenever you go outside of your door, your home, or wherever you are, your comfort zone, you automatically tap into your rising sign. So it interested me. And I found out that I was a Libra rising. So when I have the characteristics of a Libra, which means that, whenever I'm meeting new people, I can always be very charming, very diplomatic, and I always want to keep things balanced. Yeah. And I do notice that about my life. So it interested me. So I started looking into more of it, and I started seeing that there were planets, there were signs, there were houses. It's a whole makeup to this that I just so interested in, and I attached to it immediately. And that's how to this day I lead my life. And it rings true because some of the things that I see that's going on with the world, because I pay attention to the United States birth chart, because everything that's living or everything that's ever been in existence has a birth chart. So the United States has a birth chart, and I was paying attention to it. And what's actually happening right now is the United States is going through a Pluto return. Now, nothing ever in this land of living has ever went through a Pluto return before, because Pluto is a very slow moving planet. And I don't want to bounce around and have people confused on what the hell I'm talking about. But just keep that in mind for a later conversation, that The United States is going through the first ever Pluto return. So that's very big when we're talking about this coronavirus. And also take note that Saturn, the planet Saturn, is just entered the sign of Aquarius today.
Yes.
So that's going to affect everybody on a collective level because Aquarius is a very collective, very everybody group type of sign. So
they're also very demonic in nature. I was married to one for 6 years. Aquariuses need Jesus. That's just my truth. They always gonna need Jesus.
That's the shadow side of Aquarius.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So a lot of people were really fascinated just now when you said that the United States has a birth date. Okay, because a lot of people only attribute astrology to human beings, but that includes the birth date of your dog. Animals also have personality types that also are influenced by the time in which they were born. So your pets, your animals, especially those that have been domesticated, they also can be Virgos and Scorpios and have those influences as well. Now, you also just said that the United States of America also has a birth date. Now, considering that America was discovered, is what astrologists determine the United States birthday off of is from when the colonizers discovered the United States, or are we going pre-colonization, like when the Indians and the Moors were already here too, or are we starting at the point of when those folk found America?
Very correct that the United States does have a birth chart, dogs, everybody. So what you would do when you calculate a birth chart is have your birthday, which means the month, day, in the year, your birthplace, the exact birthplace. So you could be born in Los Angeles, but if it's a suburb of Los Angeles, say like anything that's like so for example, I was born in Richmond, Virginia, but I was specifically born in the south side of Richmond, Virginia. So you would put that specific neighborhood, and if it doesn't pull up, you can use the overall city because it's still the same general area. But the most important thing to always remember is have the exact time that you were born, because that is the exact time that the position of the planets, the signs, the degrees, and the houses that it was in is going to be calculated. Now, moving on to the United States. Now, usually when we take the United States birth chart, there are some dates being thrown out there that can depict when life first landed on the United States. Now, I would love, and I'm pretty sure everybody else would love, to have that exact date for when the Indians first walked this land.
Yes.
But the only thing we have on record is July 4th, Independence Day, which would make the United States a Cancer. And that's
a crazy hoe. Got it. Continue.
A very emotional state, a very emotional country. We go through a lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows. So, yeah, I can kind of work with that because it makes sense. We go through a lot of ups and downs as a nation. So I tend to just go with July the 4th.
July the 4th. Okay. All right. Now, I know prior to you saying what you just said, you made mention about houses, moons, risings. Is this also why people who might be Scorpios can exhibit Virgo-like qualities, while Virgos can have Cancer qualities? Because a lot of times people felt like, particularly the horoscope, which is not a great... I would not encourage the horoscope be someone's first experience of astrology, because astrology is real science. I mean, astrology gets really, really, really deep, but nonetheless, a lot of people's first experience of astrology is through horoscopes. And because the daily horoscope, the romantic horoscope, and definitely the financial horoscope don't be adding up, sometimes people feel like, oh, this is a bunch of baloney. But the reason why sometimes horoscopes can not be fitting to you, even if it's a Virgo daily horoscope, is because of the rising sign? Like, if you have a house somewhere else, a moon somewhere else, a rising somewhere else, should that influence the way you look at a horoscope? Like, if I have a rising as a Virgo, can I look at a Virgo's horoscope and it be fitting to what I'm actually going through instead of my actual Scorpio horoscope?
Yes, that is correct. And I'm actually glad that you actually brought that up. Because one thing that I want people to remember is, yes, you are your sun sign that you were born with. If you were born as a Libra, you are a Libra. You are very much so a Libra. But how you carry yourself into the world is you would look at your rising sign. So whenever you're looking at horoscopes, you always want to look at the sign of your rising sign, because that's going to put you in the position of where the planets are moving in your chart, in your house. So for example, I'm a Libra rising. So whenever I would look up like monthly horoscopes or whatever, I always look up for a Libra, because it would say, well, this month, such and such planet is moving through this house. And these are the areas of life that you need to pay attention to. So for example, Saturn, which is the planet of discipline, the planet of responsibility. Any house that has Saturn in it is where you're going to have to work a little bit extra hard. You're going to have a little bit more responsibility when it comes to that. And my natal Saturn, my original Saturn in my birth chart is in the 3rd house. I just went through a Saturn return. And for those of you who don't know what a Saturn return is, that's when Saturn, it takes... I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, tell them all about that Saturn returning.
Yes. So for I definitely want to tell this to the conscious crew.
Yes.
So for anybody who's 27, 28, 29, 30, you're going through a Saturn return right now. And what that basically means is you're going through a quarter life crisis. And some people, if you're already on the right path, and doing what you're supposed to do and being responsible, Saturn will reward you at that time. Saturn will come in and say, hey, well, Tony has been doing everything that he's been doing right for the past 29 years. So we're going to reward him. And what that reward is based on your certain positions and how your chart is made up.
Yes.
Now, me, for example, I just finished going through a Saturn turn, and I'm going to tell you, conscious crew, it really kicked my ass. The thing is, Saturn wants you to give up you fighting against it, because it's going to always throw responsibility at you. It's going to bring to you around this time, 27, 28, 29, what path do you want to choose? What is it that you want to do in your life? Okay, so let Saturn know, and he will work with you. But if you're trying to go against it and say, oh, I'm just going to keep sitting on my ass, or I'm just going to keep doing this and doing that, when Saturn comes back around, Saturn is actually going to crystallize those qualities that you are not doing and make it harder for you. So therefore, moving forward, it's going to be harder for you to get through those limitations. But with Saturn comes great work, comes great reward. And once they see, they will send those energies down to you and reward you tremendously.
So you're basically saying that Saturn represents a tester.
Yes, he's the great taskmaster.
Okay, so you know what's so funny is that a lot of people don't know this, but Satan in the scriptures also represents Saturn. And when the 3rd year into Jesus' ministry, his Saturn returned at 33 years of age, which is also a common age where a lot of people experience a Saturn returning. And when Saturn returned to Christ in the wilderness, what did he do? He tested and tried the Christ, which is what Satan does. I just wanted to throw that in there, but go ahead.
Yes. So you hit everything right on the nose. Saturn is the great taskmaster. He's the person that's going to come through and say, hey, look, whatever house he's in, whatever area of life that Saturn feels like you're not responsible in, he's going to come through and rip all of that away from you, whether you're ready or not. And he's going to say, okay, now what are you going to do now that I came through and took all of this away from you?
Yeah.
So I like to always use this example. So I just had a Saturn return in my third house of communication, siblings, cousins, your immediate environment, how you learn your day-to-day life. And it was really hard for me because at that time I was going through a lot of depression. And if another thing to remember is Saturn brings great depression if you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. And it's all for a good cause. It's to get you to see that, okay, you're not well in this area and you need to get better. But Saturn is a great builder. He will build you up if you pay attention to what's being taken away from you.
Yeah, because oftentimes we look at so let me ask you about, well, before I say that, let me ask you about Saturn and retrograde. There's a connection between retrograding and Saturn?
Yes. Okay, so it's good that you brought retrograde up. So we about to get into some things. Okay, so Mercury is not the only planet that goes retrograde.
Haywire.
Saturn goes retrograde, Neptune goes retrograde, Pluto goes retrograde, all of the planets go retrograde. All of the planets go retrograde except for the sun and the moon. That's your constant. That's going to always be your constant. Now, I was a particular person that was born with Saturn in retrograde in my natal chart. So what that means is anytime you have a retrograde, don't look at a retrograde as like a bad time. Because I see a lot of people say, oh my God, Mercury's in retrograde.
Hide
like,
your kids, hide your baby,
that's why
hide
my
your
phone
grandmama,
broke.
hide the food, hide the savings, hide your car, hide your everything.
Right.
Run.
And that's why my phone broke. And that's why my car broke down. Now, that might be true. But the only thing that retrograde represents is you got to pay attention to the RE at the beginning. It's a redo. It's taking you back because there was something that you maybe missed, something that you need to pick up. So whenever the planet moves direct, you can move forward with your plans, with everything that you have desired to do. Now, on a personal level, Saturn is a generational planet. So it represents generations over time. With my Saturn being in retrograde, I had to learn how to be respectful of authority figures because Saturn represents authority.
You're very hard-headed, very stubborn.
Yeah, I try not to be, but you know what? When it calls for it, you know. But anyway, I had to learn a great respect for authority. Not to be so hard-headed when it comes to my communication with people, because again, I said Saturn was in my third house.
Yes.
I had to be respectful in my communication. I had to be respectful in my day-to-day life. I had to not give up on myself in my day-to-day life because it got to a point where I did. Like I said, my Saturn return really kicked my ass because it started bringing situations and things in my life that I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because that's how a Saturn return works. It brings to you situations where you're like, all of a sudden, things, how you've usually been living your life doesn't work for you anymore. The things I've been saying, how I go about doing things, the people who I love, who I hang out with, they don't fit. They don't make me feel happy anymore. That's Saturn coming in, telling you it's time to grow up.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Okay. Wonderful. So because you're saying so many things that are just stimulating my thoughts. One thing that I want people to keep in mind, because you duly noted it, that retrograde is not a horrible time. Now, retrograde and Mercury together, they do pull on communication. So when we do enter into retrogrades, you guys can reasonably expect things to get tense between you and your man, your woman, your family. Don't be surprised if communication gets heavy or gets difficult. And lots of times, because retrograde impacts communications in a technological world, oftentimes we're going to have difficulty with our devices, our communicative devices,
Correct.
That being cars, cell phones, tablets. Because let me tell you something. This retrograde kicked my entire asshole. I had to get resaved, okay? In order to deal with this retrograde, I had to get baptized again just to avoid strangling the living crap out of retrograde. I had to replace my laptop. I had to replace my cell phone. I had to replace my iPhone. I had to replace damn near everything. Interestingly enough, too, people who don't even believe in astrology or even follow up with astrology are also impacted by impacted by astrology, particularly by retrograde the same, because also this particular retrograde, because of the planetary alignment, it pulled on the past. So some of you during this retrograde might have been thinking of ex-boyfriends, relationships that you haven't thought about in years might have surfaced up in your psyche, in your consciousness. You might have started dreaming about a past lover, ruminating and fantasizing, or even, just thinking about someone you used to be friends with. The dead kind of rised during this particular retrograde. I also had my own experience of that because I started dreaming of someone that I'm hoping to never run into again. But I started dreaming about this person doing this retrograde, and I was talking to my uncle, who is a traditional Christian, Orthodox Christian, very simple man, probably can't even spell astrology. He was like, man, I've been thinking about, this old girlfriend I used to have. He was like, I just been, over the past few days, just been really thinking about this girl. I don't know where this stuff is coming from, man. And he just started telling me all the details about their relationship. And he also had car troubles, okay? I had to help him get a part for his vehicle. And then my grandmother is a very traditional Christian woman. She probably can't even spell astrology either. And she was experiencing issues with her garage going up and down. She had to get it fixed. And the vents in her house needed to be cleaned out because they were like stopped up. Now, all this stuff could have happened throughout any other point in the year. But ironically, these mishaps, these thoughts of the past, or these mechanical, electrical issues ironically show up during the retrograde. But what I tell people about retrograde is here to tell you, bitch, be present in your everyday life. Because what retrograde is going to do is remind you of all the crap you never took care of when you had a chance to take care of it. Now it's falling apart and it's inconveniencing you. So guess what? If you want to have a great retrograde experience, what you want to do is, if you need to repair something in your home, a stove, a microwave, an air conditioner unit, go ahead and do it while you have the money, because retrograde is going to force you to fix or ultimately replace whatever the hell is coming for. Anything that's on its last leg, that charger, or that phone that won't take a charge, is out of the door during retrograde. That laptop that's barely hanging on, oh yeah, retrograde gonna rapture that right on up. Anything that you just not tending to, and that also include relationships, human relationships, things that y'all not talking about in the family, things you're not talking about in your relationship. All these things are going to come up from under the rug during retrograde to give us an opportunity to practice presence and to also be solution-minded. But retrograde wants us to be solution-minded all year long and don't want us to always be forced to finally pay attention to that stuff that we know we should have been paying attention to. We know we should have put that money on that stuff. We know we should have took that car to the shop 2 months ago when we had our tax money. We always procrastinate and prolong and lack maintenancing our everyday life and our possessions, and retrograde comes to say, hey, you need to be more goddamn responsible with your living. But how do you feel about what I'm stating right now about retrograde?
You hit it right on the head. You couldn't have said it better than I would have said it.
I hear that a lot.
But I think specifically everything that you're talking about is more under the Mercury retrograde umbrella. Now, every planet that goes retrograde brings about different themes, depending on what sign it's in. So just this past Mercury retrograde, we've Mercury started off in Pisces, but then it retrograded back to Aquarius, and now it's moving on back to Pisces because it's direct. Now, to me, what I think that basically means is there is some unfinished business with the collective, aka the coronavirus.
Not the corona,
so,
honey.
Yes, the coronavirus, exactly. Because Mercury rules communication, it rules your day-to-day life, it rules travel. Travel, everyone. There's a travel ban. And in Aquarius, the collective people.
Yes.
It's a travel ban on the collective people on traveling. So now that it's going to move back in Pisces, Mercury doesn't really do too well in Pisces because those are Mercury dreamy waters that Mercury is in. Yeah. Mercury does well in Virgo and Gemini because these are very logical signs. Mercury likes logic. Now, whenever he's traveling through the sign of Pisces, there's a lot of mysticism. There's a lot of haziness because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which gives a lot of illusion. So what that can mean is in your day-to-day life coming up, we can be fed a lot of things that could be lies in the media. They could be the government can be creating an illusion around what we see and around what we feel about this virus moving forward, because Pisces is a very emotional feeling sign. So it's best to pay attention to how you feel right now at this particular point with all this social distancing going on, this virus, all this stuff. And with Mercury just coming out of Aquarius, what that's basically saying is we really need each other more than anything at this time. Now, I'm not saying we got to give each other hugs and stuff because I ain't hugging nobody right now. It wouldn't hurt. But
a spiritual hug.
You know, a spiritual hug, a spiritual high five, a spiritual kiss, you know. But reach out to that person who you feel like you don't think is doing that good. Or, you know, if you do know somebody who's in the medical field, you know, Pisces is a very generous sign. It's a very selfless sign. So, you know, use your communication, Mercury, to be selfless, Pisces, moving forward now that Mercury is direct. And, you know, just reach out to somebody who you know is in need during this time.
Absolutely. So interesting that you talked about, and I want to jump back into some stuff that you was mentioning just now, but bringing up the corona. First of all, is everybody got their corona kit products in order to protect themselves? You know, gave you guys a really thorough corona kit list in my community feed. And I also gave it to you behinds in my corona video. For those of you who haven't seen that, check that video out. The video is very informative. But are you guys utilizing your mask for those of you who are testing positive and staying away from folk? Okay, because, you know, my mask isn't really that effective, Rashad. And I'm like removing all my earrings to put this thing on. But
well, I saw that mask you had on.
It's so cute though. Like,
it's cute, but is it effective?
I know, but you know, I don't do effective well, but I do cute very, very well. You know, I'm the master.
Yeah, you do that well. Cute. So yeah, I mean, like, you feel it, keep wearing that mask. But in terms of the corona getting all up in your lungs and tearing that shit up, then you use another mask.
My God told me that diseases avoid cute people. Okay, and all my life, I never had to fight. I never had to fight
all
my life.
All right, amen.
I never had to fight all my life, okay? Now, what I wanted to say about corona, because you mentioned social distancing, and me and you kind of got into this conversation yesterday, and I wanted to mention this. Hold on, let me straighten out my Mortal Kombat aesthetic. Okay, and we was talking about the corona and social distancing, and I was saying that the corona is, well, not the corona, but the social distancing as a result of the infection is something that we've co-created collectively, I believe. I believe that I wasn't shocked by the thoughts around social distancing, the idea that maybe martial law may be implemented. Some state governors are actually putting on a curfew for cities and civilians. But to me, when I saw the manifestation of people physically having to avoid each other, physically having to be separated from one another, to me, that wasn't any different than the emotional division and separateness that we've been living since the explosion of social media. Because since social media, it seems like it's made us virtually more social, but it's made us physically more antisocial. Most people are present on their phones at times when they should be physically present. They should be physically present at a concert, even at a church service. We see that people are recording services from the pulpit, from the audience, from the base of the church. We see that people can't even have a simple outing together without having a selfie moment. And even with the rise of things like world star hip hop, there's been a lot of desensitizing now to where it is we don't even feel as empathetic toward human suffering as we used to. And so when I saw the manifestation of social distancing, I said, well, yeah, of course, this is the final manifestation of what we've been practicing emotionally already anyway. So we're just now coming full circle with this divisiveness that I believe we've already been practicing mentally and emotionally. But what are your thoughts about us collectively attracting social distancing, martial law, curfew? Do you think that there's a correlation between our lack of empathy and now finally co-creating a reality that kind of is the law of the land now, to stay away from each other physically?
How I look at that is, I feel like this has been a long time coming.
Absolutely.
With the social distancing. I don't necessarily think it took. I think the coronavirus was the cherry on top, but I think that things that we have been doing over the years have been pushing us towards social distancing with social media. And if we're talking astrologically, Uranus, the planet of rebellion and change in social media, would just left the sign of Aries. Now, if you want to talk about social distancing, let's talk about what the sign of Aries represents as a whole. Aries is very selfish, a very selfish sign. Now, not in a bad way, because I don't want people to say, well, I'm an Aries and, I'm not selfish. Aries is selfish in a way where they go forth with what they want to do. They push forward with their own mind.
So they're very self-willed.
Right. So Uranus, you got to take the qualities of the planet and combine it with the qualities and the themes of the sign. Uranus and Aries sparked the selfie movement, because once Uranus entered the sign of Aries, that's when social media hit an all-time high. I think that was the beginning of social distancing, because that's when everybody pushed forth as an individual with their pages, with their pictures, with this is who I am and this is how I live my life. That's why I took a break from social media for quite some time, because I'm like, I just want to focus on more of who I am, what I'm good at. I don't want to get online and see the same boring stuff every day. But the planets are always going to push forth whether we like it or not. So that marked that time. And if you want to know my personal opinion on social distancing, I think that this was bound to happen. Now, in my opinion, I think that all the movies that are sci-fi and that depict technology or the advancement of technology, even from the early 80s until now, I feel like that was telling a story of what was about to happen. Because I feel like almost in a way, the government wants us to be social distant because they want everybody to not interact with everybody. They want everybody to be in their own homes. They want everybody to have services that comes to them. That's why you see a rise in so many home delivery services, because they want to make it as easy as possible for you not to leave your home. You know what I'm saying? As possible. And so, yeah, if I'm talking about my opinion on social distancing, I feel like it's something that's being pushed on us way before the virus came about.
Yes, but I feel like, because, see, what you just said is mastering the inner self, having time to self-reflect, to do introspective work. That's the good that can come out of what we have unfortunately co-created, right? Because I believe that the universe is always conspiring toward our wellness and our wholeness. So even when we mess up as a humanity, even when we mess up as a community, even when we mess up individually, that just like the universe offered a way into the problem, the universe is always offering on the back end a way out of the problem. So I think that social distancing is a manifestation of an anti-socialism that we've been practicing since the rise of social media.
Yep.
But the solution, as you just said, is to get back to ourselves so that, and we will come out of social distancing. We will come out of COVID-19. A lot of people think that this is the end, but we will rise, we will stand, we will be reintegrated back into society. But the hope from the higher consciousness is that we will introduce ourselves back into society differently, and that empathy between us and us, me and you, can get working again, okay? And that's something that we can get back to now that we have this time on our hand, to be to ourselves, to spend thinking about our lives and where we're going, and if we're living up to our own morals and ethics, and if we are really living our best lives, and what changes need to happen in our lives so that we can get to our joy, get to our love, get to our best selves, get to the most optimal manifested reality that God has envisioned for each and every last single one of us. Like, yes, we can do something about the problem that we've created collectively, and what we do with this time to ourselves is going to determine the way that we move forward.
Correct.
Now, I want to ask you about some things, okay?
Okay.
Go back here. Let me go back here for one. Okay, no, before I get there, because I got some stuff on here. Natal charts. What is the significance of a birth chart? Like, what? Well, first of all, what's the difference between a horoscope and a birth chart, for those who don't know?
So a horoscope is just basically talking about your sun sign. So I've seen many people shouting out their Zodiac signs and their birth dates in the comments or whatever. And shout out for all of y'all, because I feel like all 12 Zodiac signs are very, very special. But it's just that. The horoscope is talking about your sun sign. Now, your birth chart, or your natal chart, as what we like to call it, is a bigger picture of your life. Now, your birth chart is a snapshot of the positions of the planet, the exact degree, everything, the positions, the houses, everything at the exact time, second, minute of your birth. So that's basically the blueprint of your life being mapped out right before your eyes with all of your birth information. So, yes, you can be born, let's say, a Libra, but there's more to your story than just being a Libra. You have many different planets, many different signs, or you might have planets in the same sign of Libra. I feel like the only way that people can relate to their sun sign is if they have many different planets within the same sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that creates an emphasis on that specific sign.
Okay. Would you say that a birth chart, because a lot of people think that horoscopes are full of crap, which turns them off to astrology, but let me tell you, I feel like there is no way anybody can seriously study astrology as a subject matter and not be convinced, even if you're not the most spiritual, even if you're not the most new age, even if you're not the most, even if you're an atheist, that astrology is so encompassing in terms of our makeup physically, medically, psychologically, that when you get into the real study of astrology, that there's no way you can look at that and not be convinced that this belongs somewhere amongst the common world, that we cannot keep talking about astrology as a pseudoscience. We can't keep talking about astrology as something spooky or new agey or a feel good concept, but that there's real correlations between our sciences, between the way that our bodies are made. One of those things is, and let me just get my notes here because I jotted down some notes. Oh, you know what? It ain't even on here. Ain't even on here. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to that later. But a lot of people who doubt and have skepticism around astrology tend to be made believers once they get that birth chart done. That birth chart is insane. I mean, the way your birth chart is gonna read you for filth. Like, any of you who have had a birth chart done, or those of you who are going to have one done, when I tell you this thing knows you inside and out, it's going to be unbelievable at how astrology is so particular to your particular life. Like, I think astrology is the actual proof that every living soul was intentionally created and created by a creator and created with a purpose in mind. Now, can you speak to us about purpose and the birth chart? Because I know that you said this is also deepened your relationship to your own purpose as it relates to your birth chart.
Yes. So your birth chart, again, is basically the blueprint of your life. Now, there's something called the aspects. Now, the aspects is just the connection from one planet to the next in each house that they're making to each other. Is going to show you how you react to certain things. The aspects are basically your life story. So whenever you pull up a chart or go get a birth chart reading done, make sure to tell the astrologer or whoever is doing your chart, let's focus on the aspects, because the aspects is more of how you're going to maneuver through your chart. Your aspects is more of how you're going to live out your purpose. You understand what I'm saying? But there are some roadblocks with certain aspects, and there are some blessings with certain aspects, and everybody has a mix of both. So we can only know what the exact aspects are once we get down to doing people's individual charts. And that would be interesting to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love doing what I do, because once I pull up somebody's chart and I start saying, hey, is this and that and this and that, or do you feel this way sometimes? They're like, oh my God, how do you know that? I'm like, astrology never lies, baby.
It never does. I mean, I turned pale white years ago when my natal chart was done. I mean, I just could not believe it. I mean, it explained why I like the things I like, why I'm attracted to the things I'm attracted to, why I don't like the things that I don't like, why my strengths are where they are, and why my weaknesses, which I have very few of them, might I add, are where they are as well. And it just sent me over the edge at the thought that the universe, God, all the different names that we refer to the divine as, that just the thought that you were created with intention, that the universe literally sculpted and molded you from the inside out. I mean, how special and how grand of a design to shape your fate, your destiny, your personality, and that these things were intentionally molded. I can even recall Bible scriptures where where God is, I think, talking to Job, and he was telling Job how he knew where every hair follicle was on Job's head, every toenail, every scar, every molecule has the awareness of God and was formed by God. And that is really touching to me. What do you think about what is your idea of God as it relates to astrology?
My idea of God as it relates to astrology is, if I'm personifying it, I'm looking at God, who is the great being, who is the great spirit, who I don't see as a person. I see who is in everything all around me. He is in me, through me. He is the wind that talks to me. He is everything. And this spirit conjured up, say like your birth chart was a chessboard. This spirit conjured up and moved these pieces so strategically on your life's path. And this is your purpose. These are going to be your downfalls. These are going to be your problems. These are going to be things that you have to overcome. All of these are listed out in your birth chart. Now, disclaimer, everybody can choose to believe what they believe in. But just, astrology is I look at it as like, as above, so below. Absolutely. What goes up must come down.
That's exactly what it is.
Those energies are working in our favor. And I don't teach fear-based astrology. You have a lot of people that say Saturn will kill you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. No. Now, what I will say is that Saturn will put you on your ass. Think of Saturn as like a parent. It will discipline you even when that parent might not necessarily want to, but you're going to learn that lesson at the end of the day.
Yeah. Saturn gives some tough love. Very, 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 very tough love.
Tough love. There you go.
Yeah. So, speaking about astrology, me and my ex used to get into this tiff when we were together, because he was an Aquarius, okay? And a lot of times we would look at our compatibility, because I'm a Scorpio, he's an Aquarius. On the surface, it doesn't really appear that Scorpios and Aquariuses are compatible romantically. But that's only on the surface. Scorpios and Aquariuses are really each other's ego deaths. That's why a romantic relationship can be very difficult between a Aquarius and a Scorpio. Now, I think that is true, maybe not to the same severity and degree as it is between an Aquarius and a Scorpio with every zodiac sign. I used to tell him, because he would be like, that's just how I am. When it came to things that I thought and believed he could work on, he would use the excuse of, I'm an Aquarius, that's just how I am. I'm like, no, nigga, like your zodiacal makeup is not an excuse for you to use to be the way that you are, because in all of our astrological makeups are strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to you to be able to look at your zodiacal makeup and look at the things that are going to come easy to you, the paths that are going to come easy to you, the gifts and the talents and the situations and circumstances that are going to come easy to you, but to also be mindful of the situations that are going to be problematic for you, but to make sure that you don't put a band-aid over that or mosey over that, because you're meant to expand when it comes to your weaknesses. So I felt like in his and I relationship, like he had traits that I didn't have. He was an idealist, and he was very good at like having just ideas off the top of his head. I'm a moody creator. I create based off of emotions. He can create very fluidly. He can come up with ideas very fluidly. And I used to be like, okay, I need to pick up on that. Also, he's, as an Aquarius, he's very, even though he's highly reactive, he's also very forgiving. As a Scorpio, I can be very cold when I'm over it, when I'm over someone. But when I was with him, I took the approach that, okay, I'm with an Aquarius. My soul has attracted an Aquarius as a lover because I'm to adopt some of these qualities that I do think are better suited for me in contrast to my natural qualities. Like, obviously, being more easygoing, letting things go sooner than later, I believe is a better practice than staying matter longer than you have to, than maybe, leaving something undone more than what you really have to. But he would never take the opportunity to look at me that way. He would love where we were compatible, he loved it. And then where we weren't compatible, he wanted nothing to do with it. And I would tell him, no, nigga, you need to be looking at the qualities that I have, the strengths that I have that you don't, and learning to incorporate that into yourself, not shun away from that. But what is your approach to the incompatibility? Because I feel like even the incompatibility between people of different zodiacs can actually be opportunities for growth and expansion, and where a Virgo can learn from a Gemini, and the Gemini can learn from the Virgo's ways, etc. That we all kind of need a piece of each other, if that makes sense.
Right. And you're absolutely correct. I think you said it to a T, where you and was it your ex you were talking about?
Yes. XX.
You and your ex. So, the first thing to kind of speak on in you guys' relationships is both of you guys' sun signs are fixed. That's the modality. That's the way in which you work your sun sign. It's fixed. So he's fixed. Aquarius is an air sign, so he's fixed air. You're Scorpio, so you're fixed water, which means that's frozen water. Fixed water is frozen. So that means you're below the surface. You go deeper than what he did. And by it being fixed air, he's always going to approach situations with his ego in a very intellectual way. So that's why you said he was very good with ideas and coming up with ideas very fast, because air signs like to move fast. They like to come up with ideas fast, solutions fast. And you're a Scorpio, so you're like, okay, yes, that's a good idea, but let's go deeper than that. And you said very moody. So water signs are moody just automatically. That's just what it is. And you're like, okay, let's explore that idea, whereas opposed to he would think of the idea and act on it. Yeah. And one thing to remember, whenever you have two signs that are in the same modality, both fixed, that means they square each other, which means that there's always going to be a natural tension there, but that's when we get into the aspects, that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of relationships and romantic partners, I'm not going to say people should revolve their love life around zodiacal compatibility, but I mean, do you think people should keep the zodiac in mind as it relates to romantic partners, even the choosing of friends?
Oh yes, of course. That's how I do it. but I think that's because I have a natural attraction to astrology. So anytime I meet somebody, it might come off as a little weird, but I always ask them, what's your birthday? I want to do your birth chart because I want to see, because if we're going a little bit deeper, the first 6 planets in astrology is going to tell you how you're going to interact with that person on a day-to-day basis. Now, the last couple of planets is going to show you how you're going to deal with that person over time. So I always want to look at the planets that show me how I'm going to deal with that person over time, because I can handle you on a day-to-day basis if that's what you're showing me up front. But once I start seeing qualities and stuff that I'm like, okay, I didn't know this at first. That's why I always tell people to pay attention to the rising sign. The rising sign first, then that person's moon.
And maybe this is where things kind of become a bit more philosophical. Do you think that people should look for romantic partners where they have the most compatibility? Because some people have the attitude that we should choose people who are different from us because it offers the larger opportunity to actually grow and evolve in our self-awareness and our consciousness. Or maybe some combination of the two. Somebody who we have compatibilities with, but somebody who's also a little different than us, so that we can take something away from our relationship and also bring something to it.
Now, one thing to always remember is if you've ever met somebody who just gets under your skin, even if you're the type of person who is very cool, calm, collected, if you meet somebody who just gets under your skin and is just very oppositional to who you are, that's somebody whose chart triggered your chart. Because, and that's called synastry, which means when you put two people's charts together and you see how you guys are compatible, you see the challenges that you guys have to face, and you also see what you guys have to work on. Now, I always say that opposites do attract to me because you stand to learn something from one another. So if you do have somebody with a chart or somebody with personality traits that you don't feel like are compatible with yours, I would say always to take a step back and maybe humble yourself and say, okay, what do I stand to learn from this person? Even though this person irritates me on this level, what is it that's making me so irritated by this person? Because there's a trigger there.
Wouldn't it be so nice, like, if everyone adopted the attitude of learning from their differences between each other instead of using them to reinforce division and quitting? Because, my God, once again, I believe that the universe is conspiring toward the ultimate wholeness, and therefore all of humanity is conspiring and being driven toward that wholeness, and we're able to fulfill that wholeness through our interactions with other human beings, through the families we're born into, the friendships that we enter into, the relationships we enter into. That is not so much about who's compatible with who or who's easier to deal with and who's not. It's more so about your frame of mind and the way that you engage your life and your living, and the way that you approach obstacles, because you can see something adverse as an enemy, like, oh, this problem between us or your ways are a problem or a hindrance in this relationship, or you can look at the enemy as a opponent, which is different from an enemy. An enemy is something that's designated to destroy you. An opponent is something that's designated to challenge you. Challenge you. And so I just feel like that would be such a beautiful notion for us to keep in mind, because the truth is, even with the most compatible of people romantically, there's still problems. There's still issues that are going to come up. There's still circumstances and situations that the universe are going to put their relationship in order to do what? To challenge both individuals into wholeness. And I just think that that would just be a dope attitude to keep in mind. My particular relationship fell apart because it only one of us were on that page. I was willing to do all the learning, but I had somebody who was just ultimately a narcissist, wasn't really looking to be challenged or to evolve, but really looking for the most convenient living, the most convenient and easiest relationship they can be in, instead of actually being a man and stepping to the carpet and really evolving from a man to a god. But that's probably a whole nother story, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole nother story. And it would be interesting to see what his birth chart actually looked like, because as far as we know, he was just an Aquarius sun. So we know for the most part, his ego was very attached. So he carried himself not really giving a damn what anybody else thought.
He had too much not give a damn in his blood, okay? Too much. Don't give a damn.
Yeah, so
I wanted to ask you if you had heard of, because I include this into astrology. I think it's very fascinating. Have you ever heard of spirits being attached to allergies and hereditary issues, or have you heard of that idea of illnesses that are generational, whether it be asthma, whether it be high blood, diabetes, that these things have correlations to the zodiac as well, and also to certain literal spirits? No?
I believe that spirits have the potential to attach themselves to anything at any given time. Now, if we're talking about astrology in certain epidemics or viruses that come about, you would always want to look at the generational planets, which are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These are called generational planets because they move really slow, and it takes a long time for them to move through even just one sign. So, with that being said, by them moving through that one sign really slow, it affects a whole generation. So, for example, anybody born between 1985 and 1995, we are the Pluto and Scorpio generation, aka the millennial. That's what we are. We are ruled by Pluto and Scorpio. So I want everybody who's interested in that, read up on that, because that affects us as a generation. We have Pluto and Scorpio. Pluto rules Scorpio first and foremost. So they worked pretty well together during that time. So between 1985 and 1995, what have we seen? We've seen all of the things that Pluto represents. Pluto represents transformation, rebirth, death, sex, drugs, money, how we handle all of that. So what are the things that we saw in between that time? Drugs, we saw the crack epidemic. Sex, we saw the AIDS epidemic. We saw a whole lot of things that Pluto tried to transmute and transform and bring into our consciousness in between those 10 years. So anybody born in between those 10 years, we move that forward. Also, under the umbrella of transformation, the first Twin Towers attack. I think that happened in like 1991, 92, one of those. So we've seen things that kind of just stripped us of our security. Because in the world around that time, we saw a lot of things that kind of broke us down as a country, as a collective, that said, okay, what are these things that is destroying us, and how can we transform that to make the world better? Now, if we decided to make it better, that would have been great. But you know us as a whole, as a world, I think we just lack the direction on what to do because of the leadership that we've been shown.
Yeah. Absolutely. That definitely has a lot to do with it. A lack of leadership.
Yes.
Now, I know that before we wrap this up, did you want to talk to us a little bit about some of these celebrities and Zodiacs? Because I think...
Okay, now... One person's chart now, I know y'all gonna be like, oh Lord, why he bring her up? But I feel like and it goes back to us saying, every living being has a birth chart or a natal chart. And so it kind of can show you what's the reason why they have the certain personality they do. So with that being said, I actually wanted to look at Cardi B's chart. Now, me personally, I don't hate on the girl. I dig her success. I dig how she came from loving hip hop and all of that stuff. But for me, I think that she can stand to be a little bit more humble. But if you take a look at her birth chart, you'll be like, well, it's going to take her some time to be humble. Now, I say that because her moon sign, remember I said your moon sign is your emotions. It's how you feel internally. It's how you deal with yourself on a day-to-day basis in the outside world. Her moon sign is in Aries. So mama is very impulsive. Mama can get very angry. Mama can get fired up at the drop of a dime, but she can also forget about what she did at the drop of a dime, because that's what Aries does. Aries will sweep on through with that fire energy, say something, do something, and be done with it, baby.
Go black
they
and
forgot
then
about
have
it. They
amnesia
like, oh,
afterwards. Yeah.
Right. They be like, oh, girl, I'm sorry that I said that. But I'm really not sorry.
I know I said that.
Right. But I'm really not sorry. Yeah. So that's why we see her get so fired up on social media, on when she's cussing and just being very vulgar. Like, I remember when she did like this video with talking about one of these media outlets. And she was just talking about spitting on them and doing all of this. And I get it, you know, they were talking about her child or whatever. Yeah. But that also ties into her Mars sign. Now, we're going to get into some things, because your Mars sign is how you express your aggressive side, how you act on your ego, how you express your ego. Your Mars sign is how you fight in the world. And her Mars is a Cancer. Now, we already know Cancer is a very emotional sign. So she fights with her emotions. That's why we see her so riled up, so fired up. And that, in conjunction with her moon in Aries, makes her just a spitfire. And she don't give a fuck who says, you know, don't do that. Don't do that, Cardi. And she's like, no. She has it on her mind and she's going to take it forward. Now, Aries and Cancer are both cardinal signs, which means they square each other in her chart. So she's going to always have a natural tension between how she feels on an emotional level and how she expresses that feeling, or how she expresses that emotion. Because she can feel very aggressive. She can feel very mad with her moon in Aries. She can feel like she want to turn up and wreck shop on some shit. But with her Mars in Cancer, it will make her come off as very emotional, because that's how she fights, with her emotions, with that Mars being in Cancer.
Yes.
And I just felt like I wanted to bring that up with her particular chart, because...
And you just told everybody all Cardi B's inner business, okay? You just snatched all her damn truth.
That's her inner, eternal emotion. Now, Cancer is also a very family-oriented sign.
Yes.
They love their family.
Mm-hmm.
They love their children. So,
Mm-hmm.
remember, again, Mars is your fighting style. So you hear people on social media saying stuff about her child. She will always fight for her child. She will always speak up for her child. And with her moon being in Aries, she doesn't care if she just cussed you out last 2 hours ago. She gonna do it again if something new comes up about her child.
Right. That's Cardi. Cut to the T. Well,
that is Miss Paul.
What about Miss Beyonce?
Miss Beyonce. Now, Miss Beyonce, she's a Virgo.
Yes.
She's a Virgo sun, which we can see that's how she carries herself very well. She's very hardworking, very practical, and she will work herself down to the bone. Now, she has a Scorpio moon, which those are fixed emotions.
She got a little bit of me inside her. I knew it.
She's a Scorpio moon, which means she carries herself in a very private manner. Yes. She will not speak about things. You won't ever hear it come out of her mouth unless it's through her music or through how she carries herself in her career. But Scorpios are very private people. So how she carries herself emotionally, we will never know that because Scorpios are very elusive. They are very penetrating under the surface. Now, Jay-Z, because we're ready to get into some synastry now. Jay-Z is a Virgo moon. Beyonce is a Scorpio moon. So they get along very well emotionally because Virgos are very practical. They carry themselves very logically. So if you have a Virgo moon, stuff just has to make sense to you in order for you to react. Now with the Scorpio moon, he helps her to be very practical. Now with her Scorpio moon on his Virgo moon, she helps him to say, okay, now not everything needs to make sense for it to make sense. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So that might even be why, in a way, she kind of maneuvered him to kind of get on her wave, going on tour with her. And it's almost like he became an entity that's being associated with her, not like them being separate anymore. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And Miss Beyonce, she just has a very, now some people have blessed birth charts, and from the get-go, she has a very blessed chart. But in the beginning, it shows that her upbringing, she had to work very hard, and we all know that, you know. Now, your Saturn sign and your Sun sign depicts how you interact with your father. Now, I don't necessarily know what her house placements are, but I'm almost very sure that her house placements put her in a place where she felt like she was distant to her father. It was a very business-oriented relationship, and we, you know, all seen that to be very true. But yeah, they have the aspects to withstand the test of time, so they ain't going nowhere no time soon.
Her and her father, or her and Jay-Z?
Her and Jay-Z, and her and her father.
So you think that her and Jay-Z are going to make it the long haul?
Oh, they're going to make it the long haul. They are definitely going to make it the long haul. But I feel like there's almost, with her moon being in Scorpio, there's some secretiveness there that she's still not telling us, because Scorpio is a very secretive, possessive sign. Now we all know Beyonce is possessive over her some Jay-Z, and that stems from that Scorpio moon. Because
you think she's possessive over Jay-Z?
I think so. I mean, I look at it like this. And she even said it in her songs. You know, I'm so possessive, so I rock his rock necklaces. Now, child, she got that man on a strong chain. Now, you just need to admit that.
You know, it's hard to... but see, the only reason why it's hard to believe that is because it was enough slack on that rope for him to end up in multiple affairs. And she...
It was...
You know, And then, Jay-Z's music was very revealing too, because, she did Lemonade, and this kind of probably gets off into a whole nother conversation, but she did Lemonade, he did 411. And it was very interesting to me to hear Jay-Z's perspective about their relationship, because he had did like some really vague interviews prior to their relationship issues becoming known to the rest of us, where he kind of expressed that he was in a place to be a father and to kind of settle down when Beyonce was at a time in her life where she was experiencing the height of her career. And that was very difficult for him to deal with, because he wanted her to give him children at that time, but then he had to back up off of that desire and support her in what she thought she needed to do for herself. And I think in that space is where Jay-Z started slipping and sliding off into some less Beyonce coochie. Some caruches showed up amidst. Now, I know Beyonce, in like her own creative, encoded ass way, was talking about she kind of took responsibility for that, for her kind of neglecting her partner in pursuit of her external desires, her career aspirations, etc. Now, let me tell you what I found to be very beautiful about the ego death that occurred in their marriage was the fact that there was an ego death. And then, two, I mean, we don't know the actuality of what Jay-Z and Beyonce's relationship is today, but I'm just saying, looking on the surface, oh man, they made it through that shit. And the way they made it through that shit wasn't through denial of what happened. It wasn't through punishing each other, but it was through the process of going through all those motions. Anger, guilt, shame, and then we got to see Beyonce be very introspective in her work. 444, not 411. I said 411. 444. We got to see Beyonce be very introspective in herself, which I think is a unique approach to take, because it takes a certain type of understanding to look at the pain someone else has caused you, and then you take full responsibility in repairing that shit inside of yourself. Because in the culture that we have today, the burden of me feeling better and me forgiving you is contingent upon how much you work to convince me that you're deserving of my forgiveness. And that's not really the way forgiveness is supposed to really work. It's supposed to work from an inside out, not from an outside in. And we saw Beyonce do that work. And then we saw, obviously, Jay-Z support her, which, let me just segue real quick. All you cheating, lying, dumpster bag ass, trifling ass, toe up ass, soulless ass, an Aquarius in need of some Jesus ass niggas who out here messing up your relationship, messing up a good thing, tearing up a good heart, polluting and destroying somebody's soul by way of infidelity, by way of emotional manipulation, by way of physical abuse, by way of negligence and abandonment, by way of all those ways. If you're going to make it right, I just want you to understand, okay? You gotta let that lady be mad, baby. And you can't tell her when to get over it. You can't tell her it's time to move on. You gotta let her. You gotta look, this how you get a motherfucker to forgive you. Support them being mad as hell at your ass. A motherfucker will forgive real quick. Because oftentimes the reason why we stay angry at someone, it's because they don't get it, which reinforces our anger. Or it's because they don't want to apologize or see the error of their ways, which reinforces our anger. If you want somebody to get over some shit, just support them being mad as fuck at you, okay? And I had a lot of appreciation for Jay-Z saying, you know what? I don't want my marriage issues to be made public, but if this is what it takes for my wife to heal and to deal and to reconcile, I support whatever will be therapeutic for her if it means her being able to come back to me. I appreciated his ability to understand that he created some of that shit that she had to deal with. The public shame, the humiliation, the embarrassment, the heartbreak of it all. And he didn't try to control it. He just braced himself and even offered himself up to receive back the wrath, which were the consequences of his own goddamn actions.
Right.
But how many people have done that? Because let me tell you, in my relationship, my ex tried to reach out to me several different times last year. I have not been able to stomach dealing with him, not even in a hey and bye context. Every time he has tried to reintroduce himself and communicate with me, he's always wanted to tell his side. And then when it came to the telling of my side, he would always get angry and try to play the victim. And I'm just speaking my truth. And it made it difficult for us to communicate. He wanted to control how mad I was at things, how frustrated I was at things, and that would re-wound me every time. Because I'm like, you have already betrayed me and hurt me. And now you're trying to control my perception of my experience of you. Instead of just embracing that and even maybe apologizing, even if you don't agree with my personal narrative, but you understand that I perceive the things that happen the way that I'm perceiving them. And so just own that, because I don't care why you cheated, okay? You cheated. Why you cheated is important to you, because that's going to be your excuse to run away from accountability as to why you did it. That doesn't matter to the motherfucker who got cheated on or who got lied to, is the why. So irregardless of the why, the what, the whatever, okay? The bitch didn't mean nothing. It was only sex. Or I only want to... Look, you were dead ass wrong, nigga. Just be dead ass wrong. Just be dead ass wrong. Why can't we just be dead ass wrong? Most of us defend ourselves even when we know we dead ass wrong. We still try to scoot a little bit instead of just being able to sit in the uncomfortableness of being dead ass wrong. Just be dead ass wrong. It's okay, because we will move on, but we won't move on if you can't be uncomfortably dead ass wrong when you dead ass wrong. No conversation, no unpacking, no arguing. Dead. You just dead wrong, okay? Just be dead fucking wrong.
Just say, look, baby, I fucked up. I did this. And a lot of people always start off with saying, the only reason I did this because... I don't want to hear the reason why you did it. Just say you did it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe I do. Are you still there? Okay. Maybe I do want to hear why you did it. I don't want to hear why you did it right now, bitch. You dead ass wrong right now. Like, as I get better, I'm going to naturally be curious about why you did it, just to see if maybe there is some part that I had of each other, okay? And you can't expect to be with somebody, not be paying them no attention. I ain't saying I did this, but I'm just saying you can't be in a relationship not expecting to pay somebody attention, not be showing up with their love language, and then expect everything to be Okay, but on the other end, I'm not saying there's ever an excuse to cheat or to lie or to betray your partner, because you also have the choice to just fucking leave before you hurt the person that you claim you love. You do have the free God-given amendment right to just fucking leave before you make yourself a monster in this situation. But because life isn't perfect and our lives are not happening within a vacuum, I understand that sometimes we just fuck up. And when we do, we just need to stand in that. Good night, Phyllis Boo. Thank you for modding tonight, sugar. We just do. But bringing it back to astrology. Continue. I don't know how the hell we got off into...
we always get like that whenever we get into conversations, even when we on the phone. I lost my place. We was talking about synastry.
Yes.
But that's going to also bring me to my closing synastry chart that I want to put out. Dun, da, da, da. Miss Nene Leakes and Kenya Moore's birth chart, because there's been a lot of things going on with Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yes.
Now, at face value, there are lots of people that are not fans of Nene Leakes, and there are a lot of people that are not fans of Kenya Moore. But I think that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the individual battle between the two ladies, because I think now that it's become bigger than the show. I think that they really, truly, actually don't like each other. Yeah. And now, looking at their individual birth charts, it's because of their moon signs. Now, Miss Nene Leakes, she's a Taurus moon, and Miss Kenya Moore is a Capricorn moon. Now, Capricorn moons, they are known to be very cold and don't give a fuck what they say out their mouth about people or do to people.
Yes.
And Taurus moons are very stubborn. They are very fixed in their emotions, and what they say is what they meant. That's why you always hear Nene say, I said what I said and I'm not changing it. Because Tauruses don't like to be pushed. They don't like to feel like somebody's trying to change their opinion on something. They say what they said and let them feel that. Now, Capricorn moons like to challenge that.
Absolutely.
With them being cold and being not really giving a fuck about your feelings, they're going to come at you and be like, okay, well, why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like that? Okay, let's challenge that. And of course, and which actually is adding on to Miss Kenya Moore's chart is that she's an Aquarius sun, which means that she's even more detached in her ego. She's even at how she carries herself. She carries herself as an individual, and she doesn't really care about...
That explains, though, why she attracted Mark Daly, because he has that same air and energy about himself, too. Like, very much so an individual, very stark, very much so... I'm the captain of the ship.
Now, what's very interesting is she actually attracted the very exact opposite of her, because the opposite of Aquarius is Leo, and Mark Daly is a Leo. So she attracted that.
But that explains then his dark nature.
Yeah, she attracted that fearless lion into her life. Now, she's very controlling, and Leos can be very controlling sometimes. Because they always feel that what they bring to the table is right. And plus, they love with all their hearts. Now, I ain't necessarily seen him love her with all his heart, but, there might be some times we haven't seen off camera. Now, I do believe, I'm one of those people that do believe that there's more to their relationship than what's shown on camera. I do truly believe at one point that they were good. Or, I just think that she could not respect the fact that this man did not want the public in their relationship, and that comes from her Capricorn moon, because Capricorns are very business oriented. So I might bet my bottom dollar that she told this man, okay, look, listen, we stand to make a lot of money by just showcasing our love and our relationship, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because she doesn't really care what the outside world has to say. with that Aquarius sun. And then she really doesn't care how she makes people feel with that Capricorn moon. Now, Mark, I don't really know too much about his birth chart. I just know that he's a Leo sun. Mm-hmm. Now, Leo is ruled by the sun, so he carried his stuff with a big, huge bravado. Like he was toxic masculinity at its best, you know. So he spilled that onto her. And, you know, with her being a Capricorn moon, she just tucked her tail in between her legs and was like, okay, now this is what love is to me, you know, and I do believe that this man loved me. So I will suck it up and deal with what he's showing me. You understand what I'm saying? But ultimately, over time, that's just not going to work, because there still needs to be something that holds you guys together. Yes. Now, y'all can say it was the baby, but I don't. I actually think that, although I do believe they do love that baby, I do believe that when the baby came about, it just showed them, it was a prime example of how much they weren't compatible, because they had, for one, they had different parenting styles. And that almost never works in a relationship. I think that sometimes that is one of the reasons why relationships meet their demise, because, you know, you have a spouse who doesn't want to be undermined in front of the children, but Kenya might just so happen to be somebody who doesn't care how she makes you feel in front of the kids. If it needs to be said, it's going to be said. And with that Leo there, he doesn't like his ego to be bruised, so they can take that to heart.
But see, that's the type of spiritualizing that I think is good for couples just like that. Like, both of these people have strong egos. They both like to be in control, and them manifesting and attracting each other is an opportunity for them to both give each other that ego death, to give each other that humbleness. Like, Kenya could humble Mark if Mark was receptive to his learning and development and to his growth as a man, and Mark could humble Kenya if she was passionate about her development and her growth as a woman, because the both of them need to come down off of their high horse, and they could do that by going up against each other's egos and having their egos dismantled by one another. But oftentimes in relationships where these type of indifferences and incompatibilities exist, they more so get used as reasons why maybe we should divorce, not be together. They end up being the deal breaker in staying together instead of an opportunity for both people to evolve forward. Because I'm not afraid of those differences, but a lot of people get caught up on, we not compatible, we don't communicate well. And I'm like, yeah, this is an opportunity to learn how the fuck to do that. Like, maybe it's not that we don't communicate well, maybe you're a bad communicator, or maybe both people are bad communicators, or maybe both people are lazy, or both people are temperamental, or maybe one person needs to learn more about how to find a voice, which they can do from you because you have all your damn voice, and maybe you can learn to have less of your damn voice because you got a partner who can hold back and be more contained instead of so explosive. So there's opportunities to grow up before each other. And your differences don't necessarily have to be like points of contention, even though initially they will create tension, but can be used as, once again, as opportunities to say, you know what? I can learn to shut up a lot more and listen. And my partner needs to learn how to step up a little bit more and be more vocal. I need to learn to be less vocal, but unfortunately that's not really quite, the work that we do in these relationships. So
for sure. Yeah.
Now, something very interesting is happening to my stream. I don't even know if we're still live because I'm buffering. Are you looking at the stream on your phone?
Yes, I am. I don't see it buffering.
It's not buffering, so we're still running smooth?
Oh, my end, yes.
Okay, it might just be my internet connection then. Okay, cool. Okay, in closing, Well, first of all, I have a whole full page of things that I didn't even get to talk to you about because we got carried away.
I know. I feel like we were just bouncing all over the place, but forgive me, everybody. There is really a art to astrology, and I really felt like I wasn't able to get all of it out like I wanted to. So that's where individual
No,
birth
dude,
charts.
you did.
So, and I would love to do that for
You
you guys.
did. No, you did well. Like you unpacked a lot. Like you taught a
Oh, thank
lot.
you.
Yes, you gave it up tonight. So what I'm interested in doing
And there's
is
more to come.
yeah, absolutely. Like, no, what really? So, everybody is interested in these birth charts. So, what I want to do is Rashad is willing to treat some of you guys to a birth chart. He's very eager to flex his gifts, and he also does this for a living. So, if you want to hire him as your personal astrologer, or if you want to pay him for a birth chart rather than signing up for the Patreon and maybe getting access to a free one, I have his email address and his IG in the description box below. I'm also going to get him to shout that out. Also, maybe my mods can put Rashad's contact information in the stream as well. It is in the description box below. But if you guys want a free birth chart, you can sign up to the Patreon. Mods, I'm froze up on my end. I can't see you guys. But can you guys put the link to the Patreon? It's patreon.com/Consciouztv. Just sign up. I made a post before I went live. Underneath that post, just comment your name, your date of birth, and also your email address. And we can get in contact with you. And hopefully, Rashad, you can be back on for round 2. And maybe, we can have a follow-up conversation after we get some of these birth charts done. Because I am looking forward to people's reaction to their birth chart. Because I just think birth charts are really like, they're the ultimate, like, my God, when it comes to astrology. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like they make a skeptic into a believer. So I'm really interested in people getting a natal chart done. So if you want your natal chart done, sign up to the Patreon. The link is in the description box below. Patreon.com/ConsciouzTV. Rashad, can you also tell the people where they can find you at and where people can and what services you do offer?
Well, you guys can find me on Instagram at King Guyton. That's KINGGUYTON _. You can hit me up on there. I just recently got my Instagram back after not having IG for 2 years. I was doing my own social distancing. So yeah, you can hit me up on there, and you can also get in contact with me through my email, which is guytonrashad@yahoo.com. GuytonRashad@yahoo.com. Hit me up there with your birth information, which is your birth time, your birthplace, and your birth date, which is the month, day, and the year. And I can get your birth chart up together for you. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Is there any closing remarks you would like to make before we close out?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for me coming on your platform and showcasing talent. Thank you for the Conscious crew for being open and welcoming to me. I look forward to working with some of you guys with some of your questions or some things that you want to know more about astrology. Because, we're living in a time where things are sort of culminating. Yes. And things are sort of coming together as if it's a pot ready to burst up a pressure cooker. So I want everybody to be prepared for that because the door is just being kicked open. Yeah. I always say this, and not to bring up old stuff, but I always feel like the door's kind of kicked open with the Trayvon Martin situation, which kind of leads us from then until now. So it would be interesting to know about the astrological makeup of that situation until now.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yes. Well, we're going to come back and do it. Thank you for coming on and blessing the platform. This has been a riveting conversation. I mean, we went into quite a few different areas that I found to be very fascinating. So, You're a great conversationalist. I'm happy to have you. I've been wanting to do this with you for a very, very, very long time. You have literally a natural gifting for astrology. Like, you literally have took off with this thing in a way that you express and articulate your understanding and knowledge about astrology is just really impressive and incredible. So I've definitely got to make you the Conscious Crew's neighborhood astrologer. So they're definitely going to be seeing you a lot if you're more than willing and able-bodied.
Oh yes, let's do it. Let's join forces in together we can accomplish a lot more than apart. So let's get together and maybe tell them about the forecast that's going on for the week within the world, or things they should look out for, or some opportunities, and maybe even just some conversation that can get people through the time.
Yeah, and me definitely completing this damn list of stuff I never got to.
Right.
Because we definitely just gonna have to have a part 2 for sure. But thank you for coming on, Rashad. I'm going to let you go. Expect those emails to be rolling in. The people gonna be coming into the Patreon as well, so I'll be forwarding you their information so we can get these birth charts done and get them back to the people. And if you guys love Rashad's work, if you guys just love his spirit and love what he got going on, and you need a astrologer in your life, and you do. Every successful person in this world, from presidents to CEOs to men in business, scientists, everybody has. These people have palm readers on deck, psychics on deck. I mean, we even saw this on Atlanta Housewives. Kim Zodiac had her personal palm reader, and that woman was. Can we talk about that for a little bit? That woman was amazingly accurate. She predicted both of Kim's pregnancies, her relationship to Troy. She also predicted Kim having twins. And then we also saw where the women went to Africa, and the spiritualist there, he was doing divination by throwing bones, and he predicted Candy's husband was right in Africa with her, and that happened to be Todd, who was also a part of the stab. And so we've got to see these mystical people, even in secular television, displaying the power, the precision, and the accuracy of people's lives and these spiritual giftings, because prophecy is a gift that's really natural to all human beings, because we're all divine. We all have an eternal consciousness. We all are made in the image of God. And so a lot of these spiritual gifts are natural. They're more attuned and adept in some people than others, but nonetheless, we all have these natural giftings, and there's something strangely familiar about spirituality, and it's really because it's home. It's truly, truly, truly home. So, prophecy is something that's necessary. Even the Apostle Paul said that if there's any gift that any man shall pray for, shall tarry for, shall seek, shall beg the Lord for, shall acquire in his life, it should be the gift of prophecy. Prophecy is very, very edifying. When you think of the word prophecy, just think of the word informed. Prophecy is informed, and all these divination systems are prophetic, from astrology to your horoscope, to any method of divination. A tarot cards, scrying, which is the art of looking into water, looking into fire scrying. There are so many different ways to tap into this iCloud of information, which is the spirit world. We as humans have an iCloud. It's called our higher consciousness. That is our iCloud. That's where all of this higher knowledge and wisdom really is. All this nuanced information, this necessary information is in order to live our lives. People, we are not here by accident. Every last single one of us were intentionally made, okay? We have purpose, we have place, we have calling, we have destiny, and there's love. There's love and abundance of it available to all human beings, okay? And we're already in contact with it. We just don't know it. So develop your relationship to God. Develop your relationship to the Holy Spirit, to the divine, okay? It'll be the best thing that you could ever do in your life. And inform yourself spiritually. Just like we get out here and we understand science and history and do all this. Get into the things of the Spirit, the gifts of the Spirit, the ways of the Spirit, okay? Because all these different lanes of spirit and manifesting spirit and being in spirit and just attuning one's own self to your metaphysical makeup are all edifying and necessary to live a full life. Jesus Christ said, one shall not live off bread alone. Man can't live off bread alone, okay? That there's something deeper, something more enriching to align ourselves with, okay? So don't be afraid to move into the unknown. You will grow immensely for it. I'm going to let you go, Rashad. Stay corona-free, brother. Get your mask. Wash your ass, okay? Take care of yourself out there.
I will most definitely do all of that and keep the corona off my ass. Good night, peace, and blessings to everyone.
I love you, and I'm going to call you later.
All right. Love you too, my brother.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you guys heard it first. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. I'm going to get my ass out of here and wash the corona off of me. This would be my 2.5 shower for the day, okay? A bitch washes all day and all night. Steadfast, okay? Steadfast. If you guys